over to remind you guys about the importance of meal counting and documenting your meals properly, and then doing your consolidated meal count sheet, which is used to submit your claim. And as you all know, we have asked you to send us your meal count data to us prior to submitting your claim, or at least the day of submitting your claims, because we want to review them as well. So from reviewing some of those, we saw some things that we felt we needed to discuss with you guys and remind you. So we have done this a few days prior to the July claim being submitted. So hopefully you will go back after listening to this information, recheck, double check, triple check to make sure that your July claim is correct. Um, and as I'm speaking about that too, I just want to say that we, as I just mentioned, we've had some changes going on, like, in July, mid-July, about the waivers, certain waivers. So we sent out information to you all about those waivers and to find out whether or not you were interested in participating in those waivers. What we did in order to try to expedite getting information about whether you were going to participate in the waivers or not, and so that we would know at the state agency whether you were participating and what was going on at your site, we actually sent you an Excel spreadsheet to let us know which sites might be participating in the parent pickup or the non-congregate meal service type. And we needed you in that, and I hope you're not operating if you did not send that in first, because that would have been our way of approving you to let you know that you could operate those meals that way. And that was done so we can hurriedly get that out to you, because we didn't have the system updated at that time, since it was such a quick, notification for us. So the system was updated. I want to say it's been 2 weeks now. So you should have received notification that if you were participating in any of those waivers, the non-congregate, the parent pickup, the let's see, what was the other one they gave? It was the eligibility, saying that the site did not have to meet the 50%, that one, and
Time restriction.
maybe, am I forgetting one?
Time restriction.
Yeah, time restriction, and you got that one before though, but you would have to have gone back in if you were going to do the parent pickup and the non-congregate and actually select time restriction. Thanks, Carl. So hopefully you have gone in and revised your site applications to reflect any of those waivers that you got approved for during the Excel sheet distribution process, and updated that in the system to reflect those changes. We need that to be done. If you did not do that and have not done that, we need you to do that like pronto, like today, no later than tomorrow, because we don't want it to interfere with your claims for reimbursement. As you all will have been aware, some of you guys, because it's happened to you, that you would submit your claim and then you would submit a site application revision. So it's out there pending and it's not approved, and then you can't submit your claim and your claim is denied, or you have to go back and redo your claim. So we wanted you to do this early, make your revision to your site application if you needed to because of the waivers, so that they could be approved and would not interfere at all when you submitted your July claim. So again, I say, if you have not done that, you got approval ahead of time with the Excel spreadsheets, now you need to go into the system to reflect those changes and actually request those waivers that you did in the Excel sheet documentation. It was kind of duplicating, but that was the only way that we could find at that time to expedite it really fast, and then also know what you all were doing. So now you got to do it in the system, because what's going to happen if let's say you added a meal type. Well, if you added a meal type, but it's not in the system, when you get ready to file your claim, you're not going to be able to claim those meals for that meal type. So it needs to be updated. And if you have any questions, contact your program coordinator and they can help answer those questions and help walk you through the process. I want to make sure I get that out of the way before we did the reimbursement information. And the other little announcement I had on the front end is about submitting your claims, making sure you're submitting those on time. Now, just because you have until the 10th to submit the claim, by all means, don't wait until the 10th. Submit it before then. The 10th is just the deadline that we've given you to submit them. And we'd like for you to get them in early as you possibly can. All right. And last thing, again, reiteration. If you did not submit your June consolidated meal count information to your program coordinator, you need to submit that today, because you should have it because you submitted your claim. So you had to use that information to submit your claim for June. You just need to send that to your program coordinator if you didn't do it. And make sure you send July's as well and August. Okay.
And thank you all for joining us this morning. And one of the main reasons why we are conducting this training is because what we've noticed that when you're sending in your consolidated meal count and when we get your claim, those two are not balancing for some reason. Now, in order for you to submit your claim, the numbers comes directly from the consolidated. So whatever you're putting into your claim should be what's on the consolidated sheet. But as I was reviewing those sheets, I found out that about 67% of those consolidated wasn't balancing with the claims. So this is kind of why we got to get the team got together and put together this training so that when you submit your July consolidated along with the claim, hopefully that percentage from 67 would drop maybe down to 7%, 5%. Is that a good percentage for everybody? We're going to work together to get that percentage down to 7 or even less. Okay? And let's read this scenario together. So when reviewing the monitoring report for an open site named Fun in the Sun program, you notice that on the day of your monitor's visit, there was 40 meals delivered and 40 meals served with 0 meals left over. There were no recommendation or issues noted in the report. But after looking further, you notice for the last 2 weeks, the meal delivered and meal served counts were the same. What would be your next step? Let's discuss that. Because we want to talk about these things, not put it in the chat, but we want to talk about these so that whatever we are talking about, everybody can maybe get an understanding when we're discussing or when we hear it out loud.
What I normally do, I usually go back and give that particular site a review. On a lot of my sites, we have that number because of the fact that we try to make sure we don't have a whole lot of leftovers. So sometimes there are 2 or 3 kids that may not get a meal. And because they're open, kids come today, tomorrow they don't show up. So we order a certain number of meals, and then we kind of stick to that number because of that reason of kids coming some days and some days, because we're trying to also find out what meals kids like. Kids like chicken nuggets, so we might send more meals out there that day. And then when, say, ravioli day come up, then we don't send a bunch of meals because kids just don't show up.
This is Lynn Harris. According to that, we had a question about the meals being delivered and the same number being served, and we sent out our monitors to kind of check on that. In some of the places, there were camps going on, or not camps, but the kids would come, and those numbers were correct. Then we had some, probably about 10-15%, where it wasn't always the number of meals served, delivered and served. So we did have some differences, but it was something that we were trying to monitor to see if the numbers delivered and served was accurate.
Someone else, then we can discuss it. Okay, what we're trying to go here with this is that if your monitor went out and monitored the site, and there were 40 meals delivered and 40 meals served with 0 meals left over, and there was no recommendations or issues noted in the report. And looking further, you notice that the last 2 weeks, the meals delivered and the meals served counts were the same. So your next step, what we're looking for here is that you should now go out to that site to kind of make sure that they are just not counting the meals that's delivered. And, you know, just because you're delivering 40 and they're counting 40. Does that make sense? You may go out there that day and you delivered 40 meals and there's only 30 kids there, but the site supervisor is still sending in 40 meals. So your next step would be to go out and check this site to make sure that what they're doing is within the guidelines. And if it's not, then you would need to correct it at that point.
Okay, understood.
Okay. Now this is our daily meal count form, and I just have some questions for you. What is this form used for? Can everyone see the form? What is this form used for?
Every day to record meals served and
Where?
received and
What?
delivered.
Okay, where is this form used? Excuse me?
With meals at point of service.
At the point of service, okay. Now, our next question would be, can anyone walk us through the completion of this form?
You should record the delivery time and date, circle the type of meal that's to be served. And as you issue the meal to a child, you cross off the numbers 1 through whatever the number is. You put the total number of meals, first meal served. If they're seconds, you put that number. If not, you put 0. Program adults, we put 0. The next one, non-program adults, we put 0. You put the total of meals served. Those last 2 damaged total. If there's 0, you put 0, and then the total goes in the last space. The site supervisor should sign it and date it.
Okay, excellent. And how do we use this meal count sheet when conducting a non-congregate grab-and-go meal service for different meal types?
We're doing the same thing as
Yeah,
as
It's
the
pretty much-
person. Someone else, go ahead.
it's pretty much the same thing, Carl, because you're still doing, even with the grab and go, you're giving them a meal, you check them off, you give them a meal, you check them off. So it's almost about the same thing.
Right, you're using the same form and you're using a different form for each meal type.
Yes.
Okay, next
Yes.
slide. Next slide. Now we have an engagement question here. Can you claim second meals on the top half of the meal count sheet?
No.
No, okay. Where are the second meals claimed?
At the bottom where it
The
says
bottom of the meal count,
total
total
second
second
meals.
Okay. And the reason that we are asking these questions, because when we go out, we see a lot of meal count sheets that are not filled out this way. So that lets us know that either, the site supervisors doesn't understand or they hadn't been properly trained to do it. So we understand it as sponsors and state employees, but we have to make sure that this gets down to your site supervisor and make sure that they understand how these forms are filled out. Next slide. What are some of the most common errors found on daily meal count sheets? When you collect your daily meal count sheets on a weekly or daily basis, what are some of the most common errors that you find?
Not being signed and dated, or the
The
amount of,
delivery time being missing.
yes,
Okay. Next slide.
or the meal type not being circled.
Correct. Now, these are some of the most common errors that we find when we go out to sites to do site reviews. We find out that the site information is missing. Now, I granted most of you all now pre-print this information before sending your meal count sheets out, but we still find a lot of this going on in the field when we go out. We find that the first and second meal tally marks are missing. Site supervisor's signatures are missing. The date is missing. So when we come out to do your review, if this information is missing, then that counts against you. And that's when those meals are not counted for that meal service. So what you want to do ahead of time is when you are reconciling your consolidated meal count sheets to your claim, first step is you're getting that information directly from your meal count sheet that you collect from the sites. So when you collect this meal count sheets from the site, you want to look and see if this information is completed. So once you have consolidated, completed the second party checks with your meal count sheets and make sure that everything is filled in, you can put that month aside and it's done. You don't have to worry about it anymore because you're reconciling this when you're doing your monthly consolidated and your reimbursement claim. And things that you want to remember is to make sure that each sheet is complete before filing it away. And you want to check for daily delivery tickets. You want to make sure that each daily, if you are a site that has daily delivery tickets, you want to make sure that each daily meal count sheet has a delivery ticket attached to it before filing it away. And it makes your life a lot easier, our life a lot easier when we come out to do the reviews. Now we're going to look at the spreadsheet daily meal count. Now, granted, I know that a lot of you use your own own spreadsheet now. You have your spreadsheet, but this spreadsheet that we compiled for the training today is kind of based on the one that we sent out to you all, because we don't have access to, if you're using your own consolidated weekly or monthly, we don't have access to those sheets until we come out for the review. But it's kind of all one and the same. Those of you who are using the one that the State Department sends out to you, that spreadsheet that we sends out to you, this is how it should be completed. Now you want to enter meals directly from site daily meal count sheets. And then you want to enter meals based on the site name. And you want to enter first meals based on meal type and enter second meals based on meal types. Those are the ones for those of you who are using the form that we send out to you. And most of you have your own spreadsheet that works similar the same way. I've seen some of you have your own spreadsheet and it works similar to the one that we sent out to the sponsors. And I have ran across a couple of sites that has a meal count app on a phone, which is an excellent tool because once they enter that meal site, it's in real time. It goes directly to the sponsor onto a spreadsheet. And then at the end of the month, they've just entered that information into the claim and they're done. Granted, I know that app probably costs money and it takes a lot of time to train the site supervisor on how to do it. So if anyone is looking, for that type, if you can give me a call or give one of our staff a call, we can put you in touch with somebody who already has these apps and they can walk you through it. Our next slide is, now this is that daily consolidated meal count sheet, spreadsheet that I was talking about. This is the one that we created here at the State Department that we send you. This is the information that you would enter your daily meal count sheets that you collect from your sites, and you would enter that information directly to the sheet. Okay, and you would enter it based on the site name, the date of the week, the meals, the first meals for that day, second meals for that day, and first meal, lunch meal type was breakfast and lunch. And this information, if you can advance to the next slide, this information populates to the consolidated monthly. See, once you enter it into your daily, on the previous page, it's going to compile directly to this monthly spreadsheet that we put together, and it's going to have your total meals served for the month of June. And note, the monthly consolidated meal count form can be snipped, or you can screenshot it to send SCDE before you submit your claim. All you got to do is go to the total meal count consolidated meal served of that spreadsheet, snip that page, and send it to us, and it's done. Just like I would give an example of what we're saying is that our month ends on July 31st of July. Now, and I granted that some of you will probably pick this week daily meal count sheets up on Monday, but once you enter it into your consolidated meal count sheet, it's done. And you can send that sheet on to us and just copy the information that you have on this sheet to your claim. And it's a done deal. But where we get kind of confused at is when you're sending in your June consolidated sheet and your claim and the two numbers doesn't match. So it kind of confuses it, because where you're getting your numbers from at that point. If you're not pulling them from your consolidated sheet, where you getting the numbers from to put into your claim? Am I making sense, or I'm just babbling?
Making sense.
Someone
Okay.
said kind of slowly, making sense, Carl.
Kind of slow. Okay, I want to hear.
No. I said someone said kind of slowly that you're making sense. So
Okay.
anybody, needs some more clarification? I know y'all probably thinking this is elementary. Oh my gosh, we've been doing this forever. It's almost at the end of summer. Why are we doing this now? Well, we're doing it now because, again, we've detected some errors and some of concerns that we want to bring to your attention now, for those of you all who are continuing to operate even past July, and even for your claim that you're going to be submitting for July. Carl, and I'm going to keep interjecting a little bit as Carl goes through the presentation, just to punch some things a little harder, I guess, that your consolidated is your integrity piece of what you're saying that you served meals, right? Your integrity piece also is your daily meal count sheet that should be documented accurately and correctly. So you're taking your daily, transferring those numbers to your weekly, some of you guys do. Then it goes on to your monthly, like the sheet Carl has, it does it for you. So if those figures are right, accurate, and everything going in, then on the back end, you got your summary to actually submit your reimbursement claim for. So one of the questions I have, Carl, if you don't mind me interjecting, is quickly, just 2 or 3 people, tell me how you actually prepare for your claim for reimbursement, starting all the way with the collection and reviewing of your daily meal count sheets and entering and compiling your information for your sites to submit your reimbursement claim. That was a lot, but did y'all understand what I'm saying? How do you prepare, review, check, and prepare for submitting your claim for reimbursement? So
this is Cheryl Addison for the city of Chester. I'm the third reviewer of the meal count sheets. So what I do is, once I get the meal count sheets and after I review them, then I go into a master database that has every field that the meal count sheet has. Every field, from the name, the address, first meal served, second meal served, if there were any that were dismissed or whatever. And the spreadsheet is populated. We have all the sites, we have the addresses, and we have the days. So we have the date. So if the date, let's say, is June 13th, whatever day that correlates to Monday, that's a field as well. So everything that's on the meal count sheet is populated into this database, along with first meal served, second meal served, leftovers, etc. And once that's populated, once this master database is populated, then we do a pivot table to say, give us all the meals for each individual site, as well as the site, as well as the meal type. Once that's done, then we compare it to our truck sheet to make sure it correlates, to make sure that it's reconciled. And once that's done, then we're able to go into the reimbursement application and input the numbers.
Okay. That was
Excellent,
a thorough, yeah, that was a thorough,
Yeah.
you sound like you got a great system.
The city of Chester is one of the ones that has that detailed spreadsheet. So they're doing an excellent job on consolidating their meal count sheets to the claim.
Okay.
Okay, we can move forward. Next, from the daily meal count sheet to our, what I call the consolidated daily on the spreadsheet, then those meals should populate automatically to your monthly consolidated meal count sheet. And then at that point, it's just like Ms. Addison said earlier, you want to check each site for your accurate meal totals, and then you want to send your monthly consolidated sheet to SCDE. And that's all that you're doing. Once you get your consolidated total, you want to now make sure that it's accurate with your daily totals and your weekly totals from the previous sheet, from the daily meal count sheet that you entered into the system. We move forward. I think we have to go back one, I think. There we go. Now, we have an engagement here to where do your consolidated monthly meals populate from? Now, this is on the form that I use, or the one that we sent out to the sponsors. Whoever used the one that we sent out, where do those meals, those monthly meals populate from?
Who uses the sheet that Carl sent out?
Now, I know several on this line use that sheet.
Okay, Dorsey said from the daily count.
From the daily count, correct? That's where it populates from the daily count. And then after your second party check, what's the next step? Once it populates from the daily count to the monthly, and after your second party check, what is your next step to this process of meal consolidation to claim? We can go to the next slide, and we can show them the next step. Then we enter it into the claim, because all you're doing is pulling. All you're doing is pulling in numbers, from the consolidated monthly and entering those numbers into your claim. So that's why we're confused when the numbers that you put into the claim doesn't match the consolidated sheet. You can see why that would be a little confusing, right? If you're pulling the same numbers from the consolidated sheet and your numbers are, if you got numbers in your consolidated sheet and the numbers are different in your claim, where are you getting those numbers from? And our next slide, and this is what it should look like when you hit enter on your claim. It's going to ask you for your first urban breakfast, or first urban lunches, or first rural breakfast, or first rural lunches, whatever. And then you're done. And then you just hit submit claim. And the numbers, and when we check your consolidated against your claim, the numbers are going to match because they are the same. Now, next slide. When you submit your claim, you want to enter the first and second meals based on meal type and by site. You want to do your second party check. You want to submit your reimbursement, and then you're done. See now, when we have it at the end of July, your consolidated should already be done. I would give it no later than Wednesday of next week. Your consolidated should be done. And once your consolidated done, all you're doing is entering the information from your consolidated to your claim, and your claim should be in by the 5th, easily.
There's a question, Carl, in chat. We need to make sure we address it.
Okay.
Can the first meal count include adult meals or not?
No.
Okay. The answer is no. They cannot. This is only for eligible meals, which are children 18 and under, unless there's some type of, special occasion, special case with.
You want to talk about that special occasion?
Disabilities. If someone's, come in and they may be 19 or 20, but they have some type of disability and they're enrolled in some type of educational kind of program, then they are eligible for a meal. Other than that, it's 18 and under.
Was that question answered, Joanne, or are they okay with it, with the answer?
Yeah. Are you fine with that? She said okay. She was just making sure.
Okay. And we have an engagement here. Can you name some of the most common errors when comparing the consolidated sheet to the claim?
And this is going to be some things that you all have found when you are actually doing your second party checks.
When you consolidate, comparing your consolidated sheet to your claim, what are some of the errors that you see on and I know we have a lot because 67% of the consolidated and the claims that were submitted was incorrect. So here's the time that we can discuss these, and if you have any questions or comments that you would like to add or can help someone else out when comparing their meal count sheets to the claim, we would like to hear it so that we can kind of get rid of a lot of these errors that we're having.
Okay. A couple of things that are in the chat, Carl, is mistyped numbers, and I probably need to clarify when you said mistyped, what does that mean? But it says 2 people said mistyped numbers. So Michelle and or Kimberly, can y'all elaborate on that a little bit? Like, talk to us about it. Okay, they're being shy and don't want to talk. But anyway, they said they're keying the wrong numbers onto the, I guess, consolidated. They're looking at it and just keying it in wrong. Keying the wrong number in the claim spot.
And Joanne, this is Justine. Another issue that I've come across is that the totals don't add up on the consolidated. So that's the issue, that they're not adding correctly. So we have to go back and check those numbers.
Show my name there.
And some of them are not completed. So we'll have to go back and make sure that that's done. Somehow that's one of the issues. Or they're not putting like for second meals don't total up correctly. So that's basically the issues, the total of meals not adding up, come across that a lot.
Okay.
Justine, this is when you were going back and doing the second party of the first party that did your
Right.
comparing.
Check it, yeah, before we enter it. That's the
Okay.
issue, the issues that we're having, that the meals are not totaling. So we have to go back and find out what's happening there, and then go back to the actual meal count sheets to make sure that those numbers are correct.
There you go. The process of elimination. If you want to go to the next slide. Now, these are some of the errors when comparing the consolidated sheet to the claim that we're finding. Meals entered correctly by meal type on claim, but not on sheet. What I mean by that is that sometime on the claim, you might have had snacks in breakfast cell.
Putting it in the wrong.
Right.
Yes.
So when this is what I mean when you are comparing your consolidated against your claim, you could catch this. You can automatically see that you got more breakfast now than you have on your claim. So you can catch that at that point when you're doing that comparison between the claim and the consolidated. The claim sheet do not balance with no explanation. Now, what I mean by this is that sometimes, now I'll give you a good example of a site that did this, but at least they had an explanation for it. They sent in their consolidated sheet and they sent in their claim, but it didn't balance. But the reason it didn't balance because they added their snacks on the consolidated, but someone else paid for the snacks and not the state. But if she had not explained that to me, I would have never known. So when you send your sheet in and it doesn't balance, and you know that it doesn't balance, send some kind of explanation to us so that we'll know, what's going on, and we don't have to get on the phone now and call you up and ask for that information.
Carl, another issue that we're having, and I think we go through this every time we submit the claim, I always have to call Monica or Amber to let them know. When we, say if we start out with 50 meals, that's what we put in the system, and then we have to go back to decrease the meals during the week or the next week. And then at the end, when we go to submit the claim, it'll tell us that we exceeded our meals. So we'll have to go back and take it back to the original number that we had in there. So I don't know what's happening there.
Well, that is because
we do know. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's happening because your average daily participation is maybe lower than what you're claiming, and that's why you're going to see that alert. But that would have nothing to do with entering the totals from your consolidated to your claim.
Oh, I know that. That was just something that I wanted, because we kept coming across that every time we submit a claim. I just had a question about that one.
Right.
Why is
and you're going to have to continue to call if you see that happening, because you would have to go back in,
right,
increase your ADP to the number that would allow, the system would allow you to. Well, an example. Let me give an example. Like, let's just say that 30 meals that you say that you were going to serve at that site, but when you got ready to submit your claim, you submitted 50 meals. The system is not going to allow you, because you told the system that you're only going to serve 30. So it's not going to allow you to do 50 until you increase it to 50. Okay. Sheets are not compiling correctly. What I mean by this is, when they're not compiling correctly, that means something is off. Someone has knocked a one of your things out of excuse me.
Are you saying formula? Is that what you're talking about?
Someone has probably kicked out some of the formulas, and that's probably why it's not compiling. But when you go to your monthly consolidated and to the claim, you're gonna see the difference, and then you're gonna automatically know that something is wrong, And then if you can't fix it, you can give us a call and we can maybe help you get through it. Okay?
Okay.
Another issue that we've seen is the number that no second party review. Someone is just putting in numbers in the claim, and whatever numbers the consolidated saying, and whatever number they feel like they want to put into the claim, they do that with no review to catch those errors that they have made. And comparing your consolidated to your claim. Because if you're comparing your consolidated to the claim, it would never get to us without it being balanced. So you want to always compare those two numbers to make sure that they balance. Okay, we have 2 more slides, and we're going to get, and we have a few reminders for you, and then we'll take any questions at that point because we have about 8 minutes.
Oh, okay.
And
are you going to do that, Carl?
Yes.
Okay.
And some of the reminders we have: send your consolidated meal counts, cite data to your coordinator, and copy summer break question at ed.sc.gov prior to submitting your claim. Now, this data should match what the information you submit for the reimbursement, what we've been trying to reiterate throughout this process, that data that you enter on your consolidated should match your reimbursement claim. Claims submitted are processed on the 5th, again on the 11th or the 12th, then again before the end of the month. Technically, we have 30 days after submission to process the claim. Now you can see why it's so important to get your claim in early, because after the 5th and after the 11th and the 12th, they may not process again until the end of the month. And then now you without your money, your reimbursement. And you can always go in and check the status of your claim to see where it's at. I think is pending finance review, then it's submitted to SCEAS. Once you see that it's been submitted to SCEAS, that means that your money is your reimburses in the process of being paid. And if you are a nonprofit self-prep sponsor, please conduct a food inventory at the end of your program to determine what item you have remaining in inventory. Check with your coordinator if you need to do any updates to your budget before you close your program. You don't want to wait until after the program ends and then update your budget, because at that point, those line items would not be allowed. Conduct continuous training and monitoring of your sites until they're closed. And okay, and Joanne, you want to interject anything there, or?
Yes, I just wanted to again just remind you all how critically important meal counting and claiming and the accuracy of it is. That's your money that you're being reimbursed. We are looking at what you're sending us, and that's what we're going off of for the reimbursement. So it is telling us whatever you gave us, this is what you actually served, and this is what we are reimbursing you. So it's a huge, 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 critically important integrity kind of issue, because you actually do, you all may have never even read it, but when you do your claim, you have to certify that everything that you sent is accurate, is complete, it is, and you're sending it in, and I don't know the exact verbiage, but y'all probably need to go back and read it. It's so mundane that you just do it all the time. You probably don't even read it when you're doing your claim. But it's important because you're telling us that these numbers are being sent in good faith, and that you have, decided that they're correct. So when we're finding that they're not, and we're finding issues with it, that concerns us greatly, and it has concerned me a whole lot. So that's why we prompted and had this training. It's so crucially important that your numbers are correct. That you are doing your due diligence with training your monitors and your site supervisors to make sure they know how to do meal counts, and that they have been properly trained. We've been going out to site visits, and sometimes they say they haven't been trained, or we run across a name that we don't have for it, showing that they've been trained. If they were trained after the program started or whatever, we need to make that update. It needs to be in our system. So all of that's going to impact your figures. If the site supervisor don't know how to count the numbers, and that's going to start a problem. So we just want to make sure you know how critically important it is to make sure these numbers are correct. We don't like reimbursing money and then asking for it back. And I know you all don't either, because once you get the money, you've spent it. But if we find that what your paperwork says doesn't correlate with what we are seeing, then sometimes we have to do that, and we don't like doing that. So please make sure you have a documented second party process with even staff members signing off that they have reviewed, second party check, triple party check, whatever you need to do to make sure your numbers are correct. And yes, you have to send us your meal count information prior to your claim being processed. Now in June, we kind of went ahead and processed some claims without getting that information. But for July, we're going to be a little bit more diligent in making sure that we have received your consolidated data prior to the claim being paid. And so if you are submitting your claim, that means your consolidated should be done, because that's what you use to do it with. So please. And then the last thing is, Carl mentioned a reminder of when we actually process the claim. You have it to the 10th, but don't wait until the 10th. That's just the deadline that we say you have until the 10th. If you've been doing these meal counts and daily and checking over them daily and weekly, by the end of the month, it should be no problem with getting the claim in by the 10th. So we, in order to try to get some kind of system down, we said we will have our finance department process claims like on the 5th, I think we said, and then you might see where it's not done again until around the 11th or 12th. That's because they're going in and processing them at 2 specific dates. So if you want to be in the first wave, get it in early, If you are trying to do advances, getting advances, which I think the advance time is kind of over now, because if you didn't submit for one, then, you know, August is too late. But in the future, just remember, if you're trying to get an advance, the earlier you send in your claim, the better, because we have to recoup money that you may have gotten in advance for the previous month. Things I'm going to recap before we close off, though, and I know I sound like a broken record, and sometimes I sound that way. And if I sound that way, it's because it's something critically important for us to understand and do. Now, when we do our administrative reviews, USDA has given us some information and some, you know, guidance and such, and they've given us some red flag kind of information, which I'm going to pass on to you guys, because this is going to be some of y'all's red flags to look for with your meal counting. It says potential common meal count problems, which are red flags: recording the same number of meals served day after day, incomplete meal count records, recording the same number of meals delivered as the number of meals served, which we talked about, serving a substantial lower number of meals on the day of the review than previous days. So we see that as a red flag when we go out and visit, but you should see it as a red flag too when your monitors go out and visit. If you're getting 50, 50, 50 every day, and then when your monitor go out, they see 20, that's a red flag. And that's a red flag for us when we do it. Recording the first meal served in multiples of 20, 35, but you rarely get 21 or 28. So that's just, when it's even numbers like that, that's kind of a red flag as well. Never or rarely recording second meals served or excess meals except on the day of a review. Those are all red flags, and we're probably going to type this into the PowerPoint before we send it out so y'all can get that. Those are red flags you can look for too when your monitors go out. And as Carl say, if you're seeing that, then it might be something that you might need to go out and visit as well to see. All right. So ending on a great note, take this information that Carl and we have presented to you, look at that before you send in your July claim, and see if there's anything that needs to be corrected. If you have any questions, of course, Carl he can answer your questions, and so can your program coordinators. Okay. You all rock. I thank you. I know the summer, like I said, is busy summer all the time, and you pretty much give up your summer in order to feed children. And we appreciate that. We really, really, really do, because the program could not be without you guys. However, there are some things that go along with that, of course, as far as making sure the paperwork and everything is documented properly. Any classic closing remarks from any of the staff members before we go, or any of the folks that are on the call?
Yes, this is Carl. I would like
Okay.
to thank each of you for participating today. And hopefully at the end of July, we're going to get that percentage down to 7.
All right, that's a challenge. And put your name in the chat if you did not do so before you came during the session, so we can know who is on. Thank you
Joanne.
also.
Joanne, I put my camera on because I want you to see all my staff that's here.
Okay, we're all right, Pastor. You all take care.
Okay, take care.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.